Boss, one of the names that we mentioned here a few times is, of course, Thomas Friedman and the New York Times, the big PR maybe enemy.
First of all, Thomas Friedman is an important journalist, and the New York Times is an excellent newspaper, let's be honest. But at the same time, we can and we are allowed also to disagree. Why am I using this way of speaking? Because that's the same way I think they think. They really like Israel, yet they can criticize Israel. So we're also allowed to criticize, for example, Thomas Friedman. Let's choose a topic. For example, the Arab Spring. You know, I'm a journalist for almost 30 years, and for the last 25 years, it is true that I visited many Arab countries, and I've also been an Israeli ambassador in an Arabic country. So I believe that I have some experience. It doesn't make me, of course, the biggest expert in the world, but I understand a little bit. And when we had the Arab Spring, I was almost sure that sooner or later, Israel will be found, or we shall succeed, someone, or Thomas Friedman in that case, will be able to find a way to find how Israel is responsible in the Arab Spring too. This is amazing, as you must know, and you remember, of course, that Israel tried by its best not to interfere, and I think it was kind of logical. And again, the same New York Times a few weeks later understood this phenomenon of Islamism, which is a very dangerous, of course, current for Israel, or wave for Israel in the Middle East right now. What I want to say right now is that today, here in the Knesset, we have seen a friend of Israel coming here, listening to us, and maybe broadcasting in a positive way concerning Israel. I think that is a positive thing. I think that Thomas Friedman, unfortunately today, trying like many other journalists to be more fashionable than just. I think that nowadays, I mean, whatever is happening in the world, you will always find Israel responsible. Of course, it's always very, very easy to say, I am doing it because I like you. It's imagine now, I have a little daughter at home waiting for me. I will give her every morning and every night a slap because I love her so much.
Now, regarding the New York Times, you also mentioned the story about the Prime Minister Netanyahu and his refusal to actually take part in what's going on there in New York Times.
The New York Times, of course, proposed, of course, Benjamin Netanyahu to write, of course, a tribune in the New York Times. And from what we heard, of course, there was we didn't see that tribune, meaning, as we heard today in the Vada, the Prime Minister, there was a refusal from Jerusalem to publish or to write or to send the New York Times or to participate in an opinion paper.
What was the reason then?
So people might say that the reason is that because the New York Times for a long time published, of course, articles that were not going or positive towards Israel, and that might have been the response or the revenge, with or without brackets, coming from Jerusalem. Now, one might ask himself, was it clever enough? Because everybody knows the ability of Benjamin Netanyahu of proving sometimes on the public opinion how much Israel is not that devil that one is trying to describe. I mean, that is one thing. But again, this is a question that you might ask him. I believe, I mean, but that is my opinion. I think that you should go in all front. Israel was never afraid to confront anyone at the battlefield. Today, public diplomacy is the new battlefield, if you want it or not. I mean, that is a battle. We have to use also words that are not very elegant. You have to exploit any way, any method that you have. And again, I mean, if we do have friends, they can come here and try to describe us as we believe we really are. If we have great PRs, we have to use them. And again, last thing also, not to be also too dramatic. I mean, if one day we wake up in the morning and Mr. Jean in France or Mr. Lars in Sweden or Mr. Kunte in Uganda wrote negative things about us, well, I don't want to say so what, but believe me, the next day the sun will shine, our kids will go to school, and the falafel will be as good.